Now to those creepy clown threats.
Creepy clown sightings around the country.
On clowns in Cincinnati.
Creepy clowns are being spotted from coast to coast.
Alright, you get it, I'm talking about clowns. Cue the intro. So, unless you were living under a rock around a year ago, chances are you had heard about the sightings of evil clowns across the United States and Canada. On the off chance you were living under a rock, I'm sorry. I hope the worms were kind to you. Sightings of these supposedly evil clowns were popping up everywhere, starting in South Carolina and quickly spreading across the country, until these creepy circus performers were popping up coast to coast. Various local and international news stations reported on the situation, with the country plunging into mass hysteria. Parents were scared to let their kids walk to school in the morning due to the threat of these evil clowns, but nothing could be done. The police couldn't interfere because technically they weren't doing anything wrong. Just standing under a streetlight isn't really justification to arrest someone. However, the clown scare wouldn't stand the test of time. As summer turned into fall, and eventually winter, the clowns seemed to recede back to wherever they had come, deep within the forest or back to their average everyday lives. The epidemic was over, and it seemingly hasn't returned since. And while the clowns themselves are scary, the most fascinating part for me are the theories that various internet denizens developed during that time they were out on the prowl. Before I get into my favorite theories though, allow me to explain a timeline of events in order to illustrate just how quickly this got out of hand. What many people don't realize about the clown event is that there are various precursors that could have led up to the widespread appearance of clowns. The first known sightings were in Northampton, England, where 3 filmmakers dressed up as clowns to scare people, as an effort to drive up likes on their Facebook page. Additionally, a prankster by the name of DM Pranks began dressing up in a clown costume to scare people in an effort to get views. These two events, combined with sightings of the Wasco clown in California and a clown sighting in a cemetery in Chicago in 2015, are the most likely factors that built up to the nationwide sightings. The actual phenomenon began in 2016, when a 9-year-old boy told his mother that he had seen 2 suspicious-looking men dressed as clowns. Once the events were reported on by the local news, things spiraled out of control, and within a few months, these creepy clowns were making headlines. It was reported and sometimes even documented that clowns were chasing elementary kids down the street on their way to school, attempting to lure them into the woods with the promise of candy, and sometimes even becoming violent. The sightings spread from the center of the country to the east and west coasts, becoming extremely well known from not only the local news, but social media like Snapchat, Instagram, and Facebook. If you were on social media around that time, it was impossible to avoid the various supposed clown sightings and attacks. Because our world is so interconnected in the age of the internet, these clowns spread like wildfire, reaching many other countries like Spain, France, Germany, England, Brazil, and many, many more. While there were no definitive features of the clowns, there are a few similarities that apply to most of the incidents. Usually, the clowns would opt to wear a mask instead of face paint, likely as a means to not be identified. They would also dwell around the edge of the woods, serving as a quick getaway if they were chased by authorities or citizens with vigilante tendencies. Most attacks were harmless, but some of them seemed to have more malicious intents. Parents reported at the time that their kids said clowns were peeking in their windows at night, and a 16-year-old boy was even stabbed to death by a man sporting a clown mask. It seemed to be ramping up and getting worse and worse. But as I said before, the weather turned colder as the months dragged on, and by the time snow started coming down, the clowns were all but present. Now that you've had a good idea of what happened, I'd like to present a few theories on the subject. First theory, and most easily disprovable, is that the clowns were actually all part of a viral marketing campaign from the movie It, in which an evil clown terrifies and murders children in a small town from Maine. I live in Maine. I don't really know why that's important, but on the off chance that I die, assume that It got me. The reason that I find this theory rather stupid is because of how hard this would be to pull off. The sightings were across the country, with thousands and potentially hundreds of thousands of people dressing up as clowns and being spotted, and I honestly can't see how a guerrilla marketing team would be able to organize and pay for all of that to happen. Another theory, which is also unlikely but possible, is that there was an invite-only chat room on the internet, possibly the deep web, where these clowns would discuss their plans and methods of attack. This is also unlikely, because chances are a link would be leaked in one way or another, revealing the chat room. While a few of these clowns were caught, most of them appear to be operating as a lone wolf, so I would dismiss the idea that this is an organized and coordinated effort to scare children or other people. As for what I think about the situation, there are 2 things to blame: the internet and small children. Allow me to elaborate. The first few sightings were likely just people dressing up as clowns to amuse themselves by scaring little kids. These incidents were isolated and unrelated, but after the news started reporting on the situation, the sightings were spread by word of mouth and on social media platforms, essentially snowballing the sightings out of control. Many people probably saw the clowns and thought they would try it out for themselves, which leads into my second argument. Little kids and teenagers lie. I know because I go to school with them. Notice how most of the sightings were reported by kids and not adults. Many concerned parents would simply take their kids' words at face value, reporting it to the authorities. I have no doubt that some of the clown sightings were real. There's video evidence to prove that, but I'm betting a very large percentage of these sightings were an outright lie, told by little kids and teenagers to garner more attention from their parents and other people of authority. I remember when the sightings were popping up, seemingly everybody under the age of 14 on my bus seemed to have spotted a clown peering in their window or ringing their doorbell. It's interesting that so many people were seeing clowns. You'd think they'd be as common as a crack in the pavement. But no, they weren't, because most of them weren't even real. They were just stupid kids wanting to have something interesting to say, so they made up random bullcrap about clowns. Taking a look back at the clown sightings of 2016, it was a very intriguing time. Nobody in the United States had ever seen anything like it before, and it was very scary for a lot of people. At the time, I even became a bit paranoid that a clown would pop out of nowhere and try to beat my face in with a baseball bat or a crowbar. But clearly that didn't happen because I am here making this video. Speaking of which, I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun making it. I started this channel around a year ago now, and to see myself now close to 1,000 subs is pretty amazing. So thanks for all the support. Turkey Tom, out.